Today I'm going to talk about one of the most divisive debates in modern football that happens regularly among football fans. It's the argument between the fans who enjoy the more techy side of the game. The more players, the Riyad Mahrez, the Neymars, the Ronaldinhos, versus the fans who care more about the overall outcome of the game. So you could maybe say it's the stat merchants versus the football purist. Now, spoiler alert, I personally, I'm a stat merchant, and I'll tell you why. The bare bones of the sport of football is to put the ball in the back of the net. If you've ever been curious as to why people scream goal when the ball goes in the net, it's because that is the goal of the sport. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how techy you are, the scoreline decides the victor. This idea that a player who can, in fact, impact that scoreline is of somehow less importance than a player who can control the ball with immaculate accuracy as it drops down from the sky, in my opinion, is utter nonsense. You cannot tell me because Phil Foden looks nicer to watch with the football when he plays that he's a better footballer than Bukayo Saka. I would never accept that, and I would never accept this agenda or rhetoric or this philosophy that says because you as a football player you're able to dribble nice enough, you're able to nutmeg a few people here and there, that gives you the God-given right to claim the title of a better footballer. No, I need you to score goals. I need you to impact the game. I need you to assist. I need you to make the pass before the pass that leads to the goal. That's what makes you the better footballer. It's all about the goal of the sport, the point of the sport. Put the ball in the back of the net. That's all it's been. That's all it's ever been, and that's all it would ever be about. That's why stats matter. Stats tell you a story. Stats tell you what that football player can bring to your team. Goals matter, and that's why, in my opinion, players like Saka are objectively better than players like Foden. Who is better to watch? Who is more techy with the ball? Who can make a nice turn? Who makes it look good? Phil Foden. Who is a more entertaining footballer? Phil Foden. Who would I rather watch play? Phil Foden. Who would I rather have on my team? Bukayo Saka. Now, do not get me wrong. I enjoy watching the likes of Ronaldinho, Neymar, whatever. But at the end of the day, the reason these players are relevant is not just because they play beautiful football. They also impact the scoreline. This idea that a player who scores a lot of goals is less of a footballer if he's not doing elasticals, if he's not dribbling or beating 10 men at a time, like basically running through the field, like taking the ball, running solo to score a goal. If he's not, if he's not Lamine Yamal, all of a sudden he's not a good footballer. That doesn't make sense to me. There are different types of footballers. That's all it comes down to. Just because your taste in football is different than someone else's doesn't mean yours is any superior to the next person. I had the privilege to be on Reckless Sports. If you do not follow KG the comedian, you should follow him, Reckless Sports. And that's where this debate basically arose and why I'm making this video. That's what inspired this video that I'm making right now. And someone on the call today gave an example about Roger Federer and how he makes things look effortless and beautiful, and how football is similar, and why we exalt players who play the game effortlessly and make it look beautiful. Now, I am not trying to downplay that aspect of the game. That is definitely a beautiful aspect of the game, one that I do enjoy myself. But the reason Roger Federer is a household name isn't because of how neatly or how beautiful he makes the game of tennis looks. It's because he wins. At the end of the game, at the end of the day, the goal of that sport is to score more points than your opponent. When Nadal beat Federer, it didn't matter how beautiful it looked. All it came down to was the numbers, the points. That is it. When a chef cooks, or let's say you have a competition of chefs, sure, you could have a world-renowned chef like Gordon Ramsay, right? Let's assume for a second that he doesn't understand the importance of presentation. And then he's going up against me. And we make the same meal. I have a beautiful presentation. The way I arrange everything on the dish, the table, it's beautiful. Gordon comes in, disregards all the presentation, and just puts his meal on the table, just on a plate, whatever. Sure, he's going to get points. I'm going to get points for presentation. He might get negative points. But if you taste my food and it doesn't taste as good as Gordon, I want you to think for a second, who do you think wins that competition? Gordon wins. It's really that simple, because the food needs to taste good, because that's the most important thing. The presentation matters. It helps. It looks good. But this idea that Sancho, for example, is a better footballer than, say, who can I call that scores goals that's not necessarily regarded as a good footballer? Let's say Gyökeres. I don't know. Nothing's coming to my mind right now, but this idea that because Sancho is better to watch, he can dribble, man, he can do the nice nutmegs, he can control the ball, he has flair about the way he plays, he glides across the grass. That idea that he's a better footballer as a result of that, that's nonsense. And we do need an objective metric to measure who a better footballer is, and that is goals and assists, because that is the whole point of the game. Now, I am not saying it is not important. I love watching players who have flair, but they need to couple that flair, that beauty, with results. That's why we all say you need end product. What is end product? You need to impact the game. You need to score goals. Stats matter. Whether you like it or not, it does. And if we cannot accept the beautiful game for what it is, which is it's a diverse sport. There's a reason we have the World Cup. There's a reason we have the Brazilians playing the way they do, the Koreans playing the way they do, the Nigerians playing the way they do. Football is an art. So many people have described it this way. You just have to accept it for what it is. If you see a player you don't like, you have every right not to like that player. You can say that's not your type of footballer. That's not your brand of football. That's why we have different teams that we all individually support. You may support Barcelona because you like their style of play, but that doesn't mean it is better. At the end of the day, the one who wins, who finishes on top of the league, the one who is victorious regardless of the style of play, that is the best team for that season. When Leicester won the league, they were objectively the best team in the Premier League. That's just how it goes. Because if we don't have a metric, then it's all about preference, and in that case, there's no point. We need something to judge. You hear people say this about Bruno, right? Because I'm a Manchester United fan. That's why I'm very passionate about this topic. You see Bruno getting disrespected a lot. And you hear fans go, if you take away his goals and assists, what does he have? What else does he need? That's the whole point of the sport, is to put the ball in the back of the net. I'd rather have a player like that than a player who is beautiful to watch, who dribbles 10 people, who is entertaining, and doesn't impact the game. The same thing with Erling Haaland. Everyone disrespects Erling. Without the goals, what does he have? If that's the case, go and watch futsal. Why are you watching? Watch futsal. Watch the F2 freestylers. You can do that. Watch F2 freestylers. Don't watch football then. And this whole thing started from coaches like Pep Guardiola, pushing this idea that there is a right way to play football. There's this rigid way. Everyone is complaining about the sport becoming too robotic, too rigid. It's opinions like that creates this rigidity. Football is supposed to be fluid. It's supposed to be about expressing yourself however you see fit. Your expression might be to just score goals. Carlos Tevez was a good footballer. You cannot just tell me because Lamine Yamal looks better, all of a sudden he's a better footballer. Now, when Lamine Yamal grows older and starts adding numbers to his flair, then by all means, come back and we can have that discussion. But as it stands right now, Carlos Tevez is objectively a better footballer based on what they've both done. Lamine Yamal is clearly more technical. He can dribble. Tevez cannot do that. He's very nice to watch. He does things that just makes you like, oh my God, that is so awe-inspiring. I love it. But the goal of the game is to score goals. That's it. So yeah, I'm a stat merchant because it matters, because that's what wins you leagues. That's what wins you games. They don't give you points for elasticals. They don't give you points for rainbow flicks. And again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these players are bad players. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. But that's just my thought. I'm going to stop it right there. And if you disagree, by all means, leave a comment in the comment section below. I've never been so happy to have like my own channel, because when I was at the Reckless Sports, I didn't really get a chance to say all of this. And I'm happy that I'm able to talk about this right now. Everyone expresses themselves their own way. Jose Mourinho plays pack the boss, or whatever you call it. Pep plays the way he does. Diego Simeone plays his own brand of football. It's all football. You could like one over the other. You can have a preference over the other. You could like Ronaldo more than Messi. It doesn't matter. We do need an objective metric. And at the end of the day, it would always be goals. And whoever impacts the outcome of the scoreline the best. It's been the Realistic Red. Please leave a like and subscribe. And if you made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. And again, it's all opinions and I'm just sharing mine.